All right. What's happening, everybody? We are ready to go live. Let's do this. All right. Hey, everybody. You're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Scherr, and I am super excited today. I have got a fantastic guest with me in the studio. My guest is a native Floridian and has lived in the Palm Coast area since the age of 9 months old. I would say you've been here pretty much your entire life for sure. She's a 2019 graduate of Flagler Palm Coast High School, where she was named the Photoshop Wizard of FPC her senior year, and she studied animation at Florida School of the Arts. When she's not working, you'll likely find her golfing, training for boxing, and reading. Please welcome the founder of Game Night Design Studio and the woman who brings the energy and fun wherever she goes, Brianna Rue. Brianna, it is so great to see you. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. That was such an awesome little intro. Even digging back to my senior high school wizardry.
How about that? You are the wizard. Do you still carry that title with you today, would you say?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a plaque with my name on it, so I would have to say so.
All right. Very good. Well, that's awesome. And I tell you, I'm really excited about today's conversation because there is, I always find that there's a lot more depth to someone than what they typically show when they're just, kind of around the community or around networking meetings. And, there's something about you and your story that to me is quite compelling, and I want to dig into that a little bit here today. So first of all, I thought a good starting point would be for you to share with us one or two words that you would use to describe yourself.
Okay. I would say energetic
Okay.
and optimistic.
Ooh, I like that. Energetic and optimistic. All right, so let's stick with energetic for a moment. So I want to go wind the clock back and go into your childhood a little bit and looking at that word energetic. Have you always been energetic? Have you been that kid who was just, full of energy and just never stopped?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I remember when I was in my first job, I worked at the Hammock Beach Resort as a activities director.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I would make a couple friends, and then they would tell me early on about how they didn't really like me because they thought that it was just kind of like a front with how much energy that I have all the time. And then they realized, oh no, that's just you. That's just who you are at all the time. I can't ever bring myself to a zero. I'm almost always at 100%.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, so I want to stay back on your childhood a bit here, but I do have a question for you when it comes to having that much energy and always being on. There has to be a time or a way in order for you to be able to, just kind of recharge and ground yourself. What do you do what does relaxation mean to you? How do you define that for yourself?
Yeah. So honestly, the thing that has undoubtedly helped me out the most, and I'm kind of thankful that I've gotten into the rhythm of starting it since I was in high school, but working out and going to the gym is absolutely essential for my well-being, for my mental well-being.
Yeah.
Just to get things accomplished, get things done, but also feel good. And ironically, I spend probably hours at the gym, but that's also where I get most of my ideas from. That's when I'm on the phone talking to the clients the most often because I have this idea for that idea or a new business venture that I want to go on, or that's kind of where I figured out the biz and booze that I'm creating this community. And so
you're on the treadmill or on the elliptical or something, and you're
lifting weights,
and even when you're lifting weights, you're talking to clients.
Oh yeah, brain is going. The music's full blast in my ear, just screaming at me.
All right,
I gotta put it out.
That's so funny. What's the top of your playlist? So if you're in the gym, music's blaring. What song is it?
Oh, I love dance music. I'm listening to EDM and rhythm almost all the time. I'm always the one moving. I mean, if you see me at the gym, you think that I'm the only one there because it doesn't matter who's around. I am moving.
That's too good. Now, like you, right? I have lots of energy when I have lots of energy, but when it's spent, I am done. I mean, I completely shut down. And there are times when I don't have the self awareness. Are you listening, my friends? There are times when I don't have the self awareness to know that I've reached that place, right? And I can get right to the edge, and then all of a sudden, boom! I'm down, right? I'm down for the count. But the time in the gym for me is that time of really kind of regrouping, debriefing, thinking time. It's time for me to really get my mental health in check in addition to my physical health. And I mean, I'll be quite candid with you. These days, I used to spend a lot of time in the gym, but now it's less. Sure, I want to be physically fit, but it's less about that, and it's more about the mental well-being and really just getting myself right there. So I feel you on that one. But I've got to ask you before we go back to your early years a bit here. But one of the things I mentioned during the intro was that you train for boxing. That's so interesting. When did boxing into your life, and what is boxing? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, of course. So I have never been the aggressive type. I've never gotten to fights when I was younger in school or anything like that. So it's kind of really like a newfound passion. Something happened a couple years ago, and someone did me beyond dirty.
Okay.
Beyond dirty. And I had so much aggression and just pain that stuck with me that the only thing that I could see me becoming okay with it is literally the idea of beating her blank. And I know that is not the way to go about things, and I obviously have not, but I took all of that anger and found a passion that I could release that into. And it's funny because I've always joked, or at least to my coaches and people that I've trained with, that if I do ever get in the ring, then my nickname's going to be Giggles, because I will for sure be walking up there laughing, being hee hee ha ha. But when that bell rings or when I am locked in, a whole new person. I'm just so motivated, just so on top of, and like I feel like I'm indestructible. And maybe that's a problem that I have, but it's definitely something that I think I'm invincible. So whenever I get into that position, I don't care how much it is coming my way. I believe that I am a winner.
I mean, what a great attitude to have, though, and it kind of ties back to one of the other descriptive words you used, which was optimistic, right? So you see yourself as a winner. And I think it's really interesting that let's just take the boxing analogy for a moment, right? You walk into the ring and you call yourself Giggles until that bell rings and until it is time to get into it. Then you become a different version of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
What does your alter ego look like?
Oh, I would say okay. For some reason, when I heard alter ego, I kind of went to like a little negative version of myself.
Tell me about that.
And not in a sense of like, I want to be this negative person of myself, but just an effect of, well, she probably doesn't let things go so easily, or she's kind of more ready to jump at things, or like more perfectionist about things, and kind of like the negative version of me. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is all the negative traits that I do know that I have, and boy, there's a lot of them, kind of shoved into this one person that I really tried not to be front face or to the general public.
Okay. We need to dig into that a little bit here. So first, we all have those traits. There's things about each and every one of us. And yes, for all of you that are listening and all of you that are watching right now, you have them as well. And self-awareness is the key, right? Because when we're not aware of those things, yet other people can see them in us, that's where it can become challenging for us. But when we have the self-awareness, we can actually do something about it. Now, interestingly, as I hear you talking about this, right? You mentioned that it's a quote negative version of yourself, and it's that person within you that doesn't let things go easily, that's really more of a perfectionist, etc. And how often does that version of you bubble up to the surface? And when that does happen, what do you do about it?
Yeah. So unfortunately, as time will tell, it really comes out in front of the people that I wish it wouldn't. Um, for instance, my boyfriend, he is just the best person in the world.
Okay.
But he definitely is the one who's seeing most of that alter ego come out. And it's one of those instances that's just like, oh no, like I want to be better. And that is a mindset that I have permanently. Everything I do, I want to be the best at. So when there's this negative little guy coming out of me, it's like, well, then how can I make that person better too? So it's kind of fun, like playing with those different eras. And I don't know if I answered that question appropriately.
No, I think you answered it the way that was the right answer for you, right? I can't judge that myself, nor would I, right? Because you own it. It's your response. But I think I just want to mention that I think it's very interesting, and I appreciate the fact that you recognize it, and that when that alter ego or other side of you surfaces, that you recognize it and that you're working to continue to get better. Now, you've got that side of you, and I'm just using your words, you've got that side of you that wants to be the best at everything. When do you know that you're the best? So certainly in different areas of your life, like as an example, I didn't mention this, but you were a huge volleyball player in high school. But, thinking about being the best at something, certainly throughout your life, you have been the best in your mind at something. What is that experience like to you, and how do you gauge or know when you're the best?
So ironically, I love that you brought up volleyball, because that is one scenario in which I very much was not the best. In fact, every one of my coaches let me know as the fact that I was the #1 bench warmer. And I didn't even make my senior high school team. So that was a bust. But what I did my junior year was receive the captain's award. Now, this meant so much to me because I was not a captain at the time. There was actually 3 other captains of this whole team. And yet it was given to me, I feel, because of the energy and how the encouragement and the keep at it that I would give off to everyone else in my team. And yes, I was the #1 bench warmer, but I was the #1 cheerleader. I lifted up everyone as much as I could in a way that, looking back, makes so much sense with who I am right now and this person that I am becoming. Because of course back then it's just like, oh, like why aren't they letting me out on the court, But it was really growing me to become so much better, because I knew that volleyball was never a future for me. It was always just a fun, we're kids, we got to do something, let's join a sport.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing though, if I was playing golf at that time, oh, we'd be talking about two completely different storylines right now because now that I do feel like I could have been the best.
That is so good. But through that experience, that captain's award that you received, you felt that, as you look back on it now, and now obviously you have greater perspective, right? But you look back on it now and you realize that there were some things that you brought to the team and to the table that needed to be recognized, right? Being that cheerleader, helping others be successful, right? Cheering somebody else on, helping somebody else who's fallen down and helping to pick them back up again, right? Helping to set others up for success. And I see you doing that today. And I think that is so cool. And it's also a very important thing to be able to recognize in other people the potential that they have, right? And then helping them be able to achieve the great things that they want to achieve in life, being that cheerleader, being that coach, doing those sorts of things. So good for you. So I want you to hold that thought. We're going to put a pause on this conversation, Brianna. Hang tight as we thank our amazing sponsors. My friends, you are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat. Don't you go anywhere. We will be right back. All right. You doing all right?
Yeah.
Breathe. You're doing well. All right. How you feeling in this moment?
It's funny because you don't really know what your answers are until you say them, Because, of course, now it's like going back over everything that we said and all the things that I would have said differently if I had a moment to think about it. Mm-hmm. But yesterday, me and my boyfriend were actually having the conversation of, what is your real thought? Is it the first one that comes, or is it the one that you get to reason out and level? Mm-hmm. My personal thought is that it's the second one, because that is when you take everything into perspective as to what the reality is all around. I think that first thought is kind of what you're trained to think or have been set up to think. And then the second one is how you really feel about the situation. He argues the opposite, that the first thought is just the raw cut truth. And so that's kind of like the fun little debate that I'm having in here while we're talking. And
that's really interesting. So I would argue that neither is correct.
Okay.
Because and that's a much deeper philosophical question, but it's interesting that you bring that up, and that you're recognizing that kind of in your head you're having both of those conversations with yourself. All right, this just came out of my mouth, but the other thought is, do I want to? Is that really the thought that I had, or should I have said it this way? And you're thinking all of that while we're in the middle of the conversation.
Yes.
That's
I have 1,000 thoughts going on all the time, which is definitely plays part of the reason as to why I feel strong about the second thought.
Yeah.
Because, it's fun having a little brain with ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
So much going on.
So much going on. What's your boyfriend's first name?
Dan.
Dan. Okay. All right. Very good. Is that Dan, the trainer at the gym?
No.
No. Okay.
He's an electrician right now.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. Are you ready to dive back in?
Let's go swimming.
Let's do it. All right. Mark, we all set? Okay. All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am in the studio today with my very special guest, Brianna Rue. What a great conversation we're having so far. It's really fun getting to know you a little more and kind of going deep into some areas here. And we're going to continue the conversation right now. So, we've been talking a bit about your background. We've talked about sports. We've talked about some of the things that you've gotten involved in, a couple of words that you would use to describe yourself, and really talking about also your alter ego and kind of going down that path some. So I wanted to kind of go back to your childhood here for just a moment. I'd really be interested to find out from you what life was like for Brianna growing up. So your family unit consisted of what?
Yeah.
You got mom, dad, and
So when I was young, I was an accident, a huge accident. My sister, closest in age to me, is 9 years apart, 10 years apart, and then there's another one 20 something years apart.
Okay.
So there was always that joke of, oh, one day I'm gonna feel like an only child, and it definitely came. So when my siblings, my brother and sister, were growing up, we had the staple stay-at-home mom, the dad that would always work, and so when they were growing up, they would just bounce off to wherever he was. For me, whenever I popped into the picture, okay, well now we're going to be stable, one place. If dad has to go somewhere, he goes somewhere. He was in Tennessee for a couple years, Virginia for a few years. Right now they're back up in Virginia for a couple years. And so my childhood was predominantly me, my mama, and then my Grammy,
Okay.
that we would go see as often as possible. And oh, I really did have a great childhood. I'm very blessed for all of the life that they have spoiled me with. And I know that I'm definitely the lucky one, and that my siblings would always make jokes about how much I would get and all this fun jazz. But that's what you get when you're the youngest and the
That's
accident by
right.
so long.
I was a middle child, so I did not experience that.
The forgotten one.
Yes. So, Mama and Grammy.
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
Grammy.
So, Grammy, is that on your mom's side or your dad's side?
Yeah. So my mom, she was adopted the day, I believe, like, or on her first or second day,
Okay.
to this lovely couple who's my Grammy.
Okay.
And man, when people talk about, oh, mommy's girl or daddy's girl or any of that jazz,
Yeah.
I was a Grammy's girl through and through.
No
That
kidding.
was my entire world. She brought us peace. Whenever my mom was picking on me or vice versa, she's the one I would run to. She kept us all sane, and she was just such an angel, just such a saint, easygoing, ho hum, do, like, just.
Is Grammy still living?
Unfortunately, no. She passed away 6 days after my 16th birthday.
Wow.
It hit me like a rock. It was the most intense pain that I have felt.
Did you know that she was going to pass, or was it unexpected?
Yeah, so she had gotten very sick into her last few months, years, kind of. And so she had moved in with us, and towards the end, it got to the point where she couldn't speak anymore. And, like, of course, that's just so hard. That's just so hard on everyone, because it's like the sweetest person you could ever meet. How is she suffering so much when all she wants to do is just not suffer?
Yeah.
But I'll actually share the story of the day that she passed. It is in my mind as if it was yesterday. It is just always something that was going to stick with me. But during the last couple weeks, my mom and I moved my big old beanbag into her room, so that way we could swap every night, just sleeping with her, being with her. Well, this one day, it was me, my sister, and my niece. We were just watching her little soap operas, and of course she's barely with us, but enough, she was taking a nap, and then just something came inside me, and I felt the urge to get up and just go say hi, put my hand on her heart, say I love you, Grammy. I gave her a kiss on the forehead, and then that was it.
Wow.
That was her last heartbeat. And oh man, did I go up to the street cussing God. Oh my goodness. But I mean, something that's so beautiful that I've learned since then is that hearing is the last thing someone loses before they pass. And so the comfort of just knowing that she was waiting for me to give her that, hey, Grammy, you're okay.
What a blessing. What a blessing.
Yeah.
That was a true gift for both of you, actually. So a question for you: if you could have one last conversation with Grammy, knowing what you know now in the years that have passed since your 16th birthday and that last moment with her,
Yeah.
what would you want to ask her? One last conversation.
So, what I would want to ask her, I think that because 16 is still so young to where you don't really understand life yet, um, I would love to learn more about how my mom was during my age and just learning more about how she was growing up, because I know that we both struggle with mental health. And I know that my Grammy, because my mom was adopted, I would have loved to hear her perspective on what it was like raising my mom, just to learn more about myself.
Yeah.
So that is something that I really wish I had the opportunity to do, or at least old enough by that time to know that's an important question to ask, or
Sure.
something that could have been beneficial to know. Yeah, that would definitely have to be it.
That's a very wise question to ask, and something that could certainly give you a very interesting perspective on life, and maybe a kind of a sneak peek kind of into your own psyche and your own being.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
interesting. So, Brianna, what's the toughest decision that you've had to make in the pursuit of who you are today?
Yeah. So, this is definitely a big one. I had gotten married the day after I turned 19.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good guy. And but things just weren't. I always knew in my heart that it wasn't a forever thing, which is that it's a silly, like, why get married if that's the situation? But things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely a part that helped turn the switch and changed the entire layout of what my life was becoming towards what it is becoming now
Mm-hmm.
was being comfortable with the thought of, it's okay if you need to get a divorce. It's okay if you need to find the life for yourself that isn't going to leave you so miserably depressed. And working up that confidence, it took a year and a half to really build it up. And like, that's so sad. And it's not a. And I hope that if he hears this, that he knows how much I appreciated him during that time. But it was definitely something that I knew I needed to figure out for myself and kind of carry on like that and go through hard decisions no matter what anyone says. I know my family was mad at me when I made that decision.
Were they supportive and happy when you did get married?
Oh, they loved him.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it was
yeah.
the at the end where
Yes,
that
yeah.
was difficult for everyone.
For everyone. I
Yeah.
mean, he was still hanging around, coming to all the family gatherings and all this jazz. And I'm like to my family, hey, me, I'm trying to grow up and get on with my life. I'm still just a baby. So it was that definitely played a huge impact on trusting myself and learning to listen to my gut, which is undoubtedly the best advice that I would give anyone moving forward. Is that anxiety that you're feeling, that little voice inside your head, is the number one thing that you need to have full trust in, because that is you talking to yourself from the deepest core.
So, question for you then.
Yeah.
Where you are today, if we were looking at a trust and listening to yourself scale, on a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 being I 100% trust myself and I listen to myself all the time, and 0 being, good Lord, who is that person? right?
Yeah.
Where are you on that scale today? 0 to 100, 100 being the absolute best.
Now, that 100 is a hard target that I think anyone who would say that is lying to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to say I'm in that 75 area just because it is something that I genuinely think about so often and that I have so much evidence, life evidence to back up the fact that listening to yourself is the number one thing that you need to do in order to just be happy in life. And that is one of the most important things to strive for, I think, is just to be happy in life.
That is so good. So, Brianna, as we are wrapping up our conversation, I would love it if you would give all of us, including me and everyone that is watching on YouTube, I would love it if you would give us a challenge, something, one thing that you would challenge us to do starting today.
Okay. I would say smile and say hi to every person that you pass. It is something that is instilled in me. Another thing is if you see people taking a group picture, struggling with a selfie, go out and take it for them. Like the little instances where you can make someone else's day or see someone else smile by a very small effort on your part will make all the difference in your personal life.
Oh, that is so good. I love it. I'll just call that an act of kindness.
Yes, sir.
That is perfect. Well, Brianna, I want to thank you so very much for joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. What a great conversation, and I really very much appreciate you pulling back the curtain a bit and exposing a bit more of your heart and of your soul. What a great conversation. Thank you. I'm grateful for you.
Oh, well, I appreciate this opportunity so much, and I love chatting with you today.
Absolutely.
This was nerve-wracking, but you definitely made it so calming, so I appreciated that.
It is my pleasure. You did a fantastic job. And for all of you, I want to thank you so very much for tuning into Business Minds Coffee Chat. We will be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, my friends, keep learning, keep growing. Make sure you take Brianna's advice and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care, everybody. All right.